Hey guys, what's up? Bryan here. Thanks for tuning in today. About a month ago, I did some vinyl stripes on my tank, and they came out looking great. I ripped them off though for this video. When I installed those stripes, it was a pretty difficult process. I had actually started to make a video over it and had to abandon it because I didn't feel like it was something that everybody would be able to do without having some kind of previous vinyl experience. Now, I try to do things on here that everybody can do without having to be a professional. I've even installed another set that I had left over to try a different method to hopefully make this easier. That said, I really wanted to revisit those tank stripes this week and hopefully show you all a way that I think will be a lot easier. And if you take your time in the prep work, it'll come out looking amazing. Let's go ahead and pull that tank and bring it inside to work on. Now the very first thing that we're actually going to want to do is go ahead and clean off our tank. We don't want any kind of dirt or anything like that underneath of that vinyl when we lay it down. Otherwise it's going to magnify it and it's going to create little pockets of air and you're actually going to really be able to see it underneath those stripes. Now from there we're going to go ahead and we're going to be laying out a center line the full way down this tank. First I'm actually going to go ahead and measure the center of my gas cap, and I'm going to go ahead and mark a point on the bottom here, and then I'll go ahead and measure the center in between these two curves, mark a point there, and then I'll actually go ahead and connect those two lines. Now I'm going to be using a very fine tip Sharpie, and the finer the tip that you can get, the better off and the more accurate your measurements are going to be. If you're out here with a real fat marker or something trying to mark on this tank, you're not going to know exactly where to stick that line. So I suggest going with something really thin. Now when measuring, you want to go ahead and make sure you measure off of something that's stationary on the tank. You don't want to measure off of this flange because you can see it actually moves. So you'll want to go ahead and measure in between your two curves or something like that to go ahead and mark your center point on there. So let's go ahead and do that. Looks like we're right at about there. It's going to be my center point on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and move up to the gas cap, and we're going to mark a center point up there. Now on this gas cap, I'm going to go ahead and mark my center point in between there, and go ahead and mark here. And then I'm actually going to use this bolt up top to mark my center point there. So let's go ahead and measure that really quick. Looks like it's right at about 1 1/4 inches wide. So we'll go ahead and go in 5/8 of an inch. And that's going to be right at about there. And then we'll go ahead and, like I said, up top on our bolt here, we're going to go ahead and mark our center point on that. And then we'll go ahead and move to the front of the tank and we'll measure that curve just like we did on the back side there. Now once you've gone ahead and actually put the center points on everything, you're going to want to go ahead and create a center line and connect them all. Now you're going to want to take your time on this step. This is actually going to be one of the most important steps that you have to do. Everything from the design is going to be measured off of this line. So if you're off somewhere, it's going to cause that design to be off. So like I said, make sure you go ahead and take your time on this, do it right, measure 2 or 3 times, and get everything laid out just perfect before you move on to the next step. Now from here, we're going to want to go ahead and take off our gas cap. So we'll go ahead and pop off these Allens real quick. Now once you get all these ones out, you're going to have to actually go ahead, use your key to open it up, and there's one more on the inside. Alright, now I actually worked construction for years and I would never use a tape measure like this on anything, but on a job like this it's going to be invaluable. It's going to actually allow you to kind of hug the curves of that tank and hopefully get everything measured out just right. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're working with an 8-inch wide design with 1/4 inch gaps and 1/4 inch stripes on the side. So we're going to go ahead, and it measures centered on that tank. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to burn an inch. So we're going to go 5 inches in. And if you have help holding this tape measure in place, that'll be nice. But we're going to measure off an 1/8 inch off each side to give us that 1/4 inch gap in the center. Go ahead and mark a couple points. And then we're going to go ahead and measure in from the 1 inch on this side. Like I said, I burned an inch, and then we've got a 1/4 inch gap and a 1/4 inch stripe. So we're going to have the 1/4 inch stripe here, 1/4 inch gap, the wide stripe, 1/4 inch gap, another wide stripe, 1/4 inch gap, 1/4 inch stripe. So we'll go ahead, get the rest of that measured out. So 4 inches out, 1/4 inch in for the stripe, 1/4 inch in for the gap. And then we'll go ahead and we'll measure all the way up that tank. Now the more points you make up this tank, the easier it's going to be to lay out that knifeless tape and get it in a nice straight line. Now some people are actually able to get it out, eyeball it. You can create 3 points down this tank and they can eyeball it the whole way down that tank and be good. Me personally, I'm not one of those guys. I don't have the eye for it. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure up about every 3 or 4 inches, go ahead and make a point, and then I'll just be able to run that knifeless tape right down all those points intersecting. So I'll go ahead and measure the rest of this out really quick. Now I kinda wanted to show you, you can see these are gonna be my outside lines. I've got these 3 marks here, and you can kinda see these 3 marks here, and then I just kinda went up the whole tank, and this is just down that left side. So that's gonna be the outside of our mark for our stripe. That's gonna be the inside mark, so that'll be our stripe. And then we got the other one's gonna be our gap. This will be our wide stripe. And then you've got them the whole way down on the other side as well. So once you've got everything laid out, we're ready to go ahead and start laying down that knifeless tape. Now you can kind of see that the way this knifeless tape works, it actually has that little bitty filament right in the center of it. And that's what's actually gonna do the cutting on our vinyl. We're gonna be leaving about 6 to 8 inches of overhang on the front and the back. And you wanna make sure that you line that filament right down the center of all those points. Now a little tip that's gonna help you out is if you actually take that and hold it from the roll and use it that way, it's gonna be a little bit easier to kind of get it to lay down straight rather than actually trying to hold it by the line and go straight down like that. Let's go ahead and come up to our very top point. Said leave a little overhang. Go ahead and start laying that down. Like I said, make sure you go ahead and leave about 6 to 8 inches of overhang on both the front and the back of that. So we'll go ahead and once you got that, go ahead and just tap every couple inches to get that to lay down. And then go ahead and come back over it and lay it down nice and tight to it. And from there, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next one. We're gonna get all these stripes laid out, and then we'll go ahead and lay that vinyl underneath the top of it. So let's go ahead and get these all laid out real quick. Alright guys, so once you get everything all laid out, you got your stripes all laid out exactly how you want it, you're ready to go ahead and start taking your vinyl and wrapping it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that vinyl and I'm going to start just kind of right here and I'm going to place it down and just kind of work my way back over these curves. And if you use like a heat gun or even a blow dryer, which is what I'm going to be using, you can actually take that vinyl and work it and stretch it. Now don't worry about pulling it up and replacing it if you have to, if it gets wrinkles in it or anything like that, because this should actually go ahead and stay down below everything. You shouldn't have to worry about it ripping up. That was the problem I had with the last tape I actually tried to use, was that every time I'd pull it up, it would actually pull that tape up with it, so everything kind of just got off by the time I was done with it. So let's go ahead and get that vinyl out and we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up. Now what we're actually going to be using is going to be a 3M vinyl wrap film. It's going to be a Series 1080. And this actually has pockets in it to kind of allow you to help work some of that air out as well. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and peel back half of it and just start working with the front half. So we'll go ahead and pull that back. Like I said, go ahead and lay it down. All you're gonna wanna do is go ahead and just keep working it on. Just add a little bit of heat. And then just kind of stretch it down into place. And then use that squeegee to kind of just work out any of the air bubbles that you've got that are in there. And if you end up with something like that, don't hesitate to go ahead and pull back and try and just lay it back down. And if you need to add a little bit more heat, go ahead and do that. And you've only got to worry about getting to those outside lines because everything else is going to be cut away. So go ahead and just keep on working that vinyl, get it all the way in. And you can see I'm slowly just kind of pulling back little bit by little bit as I'm working so that I don't necessarily have that vinyl sticking to the tank and working against me. And you'll also see that once this vinyl gets warmed up, it actually gets a lot easier to work with too. Alright, now once I've got the tank all wrapped up and everything looks nice and smooth, I'm going to go ahead and cut right through the center of this hole. That way I'm not trying to cut through that. I'm going to go ahead and run those strings to here, and then I'll be able to run these strings back through here. That way I'm not trying to run everything all at once. And with these, I wanted to run it all the way up to the hole, so I'm going to end up notching these back just a little bit and folding them over so that when I put that gas cap back on, that runs right up to it. So we'll go ahead and do this. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip this tank around really quick. Now we're going to go ahead and start with these front two lines. And what you're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim this back just a little bit. Make sure that you don't cut your filaments at all. Go ahead and take these lines. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take it, fold it in half, and just go ahead and snap it. That way you can kind of get that line to break free. And then you're going to pull it right up to that start point. And now this isn't necessary. What it says to do is just hold that and pull it. But me personally, I like to give it just a little bit of a help. So I cut that vinyl just a little bit so that when I go ahead and start pulling this, it actually goes ahead and has that line to start on. Now you're going to go ahead and take and pull it backwards and just hold that vinyl right in place. When you pull it, it should just pull right down. Now we'll go ahead and do the same thing on this other side. Go ahead and expose that filament. Pull it up. Like I said, go ahead and start. Now when you do, if you do this, make sure that you don't cut in to that filament. I mean, you cut into that filament, you're going to be starting this whole project over. So go ahead and give it that little part to start with. And just go ahead and peel it back. Now from there, we're going to go ahead and pull that center stripe up. And that's going to give us that 1/4 inch gap that runs right down the center of there. Go ahead and remove the green tape that might be stuck underneath that vinyl. And then just go ahead and lay that vinyl back down. So we're going to go ahead and do the rest of these lines and we'll get it all finished up. Now that I've got this side done, I can go ahead and start peeling. Now I'm going to start on this outside and peel that back. And then I'm going to leave that center and peel out the one next to it. There you go. Now you can see it laid out that stripes just perfect. Now you can go ahead and go back in, pull out your filament. There we go. Now you can see exactly how those stripes are going to lay out now. So we'll go ahead and get this other side finished up and then we'll show you the finished product in the end. So like I said, I wanted to keep this close. So what I'm going to do after I trim it back is just kind of create notches and then just kind of take those and fold them over. That way when I stick that gas cap back on the top, it's going to be nice and tight to it. So go ahead and do that. Now once you've got to this point, you're ready to go ahead and reinstall your gas cap. Just go ahead and stick that back on. Go ahead and tighten down your bolts around it. And then make sure you don't forget that one that's in the inside as well. And from there, guys, we're good to go. We'll go ahead and set this tank back up on the bike and everything should be set. Guys, I really appreciate you tuning in today. I hope this video was able to walk you through the process of using that knifeless tape with the car wrap vinyl to get those stripes laid down and cut out. Now if this video helped you out, be sure to like and share it. Scroll down and hit that subscribe button below as well. Now spring is right around the corner and we still have a lot to do. We have just a little bit over a month left to get this bike ready to go out. Now I should have that Speedstar exhaust shipped in by the end of the month, and I'm going to be sending the ECU off in the next couple weeks to have Ivan's upgraded. And I'm also going to be ordering parts for that clutch kit, the plate mod, a new front tire, and also going to be changing the oil. Now things are going to be coming together pretty quick here in the next few weeks, so be sure to be watching for the next few videos. Guys, other than that, we'll see you next time.